Hello, my name's Evie Williams, and I will be talking about the Josephine Baker story, about how the events in the movie correlate to events now, and about the life of Josephine, who was a Black African American woman who was a performer, such as comedy, dance, music, all of that. I would be making this video in parts and putting them all together, but my iMovie's not working, so please bear with me. This movie starts out around 1917 when Josephine is just a little girl. You see that she lives in an area that obviously, especially back then, if you were Black, it was really hard to live in like a nice area. So she was living in an area that wasn't that nice. And there would be times where her as a little kid, she was about like 7 at this age, white people would go to her neighborhood to just kill Black people because of the terrible racism that was placed then. So because of this, she really hated America. But when she became 14 years old, she loved the music industry, loved comedy, and she was performing in shows when she was 14. Soon after that, she got the opportunity to go to Paris and perform in Paris. Of course, she wanted to perform in Paris, one, because the type of things that she was doing in America was comedy, but it was more kind of making fun of Black people, and I feel like she thought if she was going to go to France, she would achieve more of her dream. And she doesn't like America because of the way they treated people there. So she went to France, and when she went to France, it was good at first, and then they wanted her to perform very provocative dances, being naked. At first she was very, very opposed of it, did not want to do it, was very upset about it, but then was convinced to do it, and because of this, she became very, very, very popular. Keep in mind, this is during the 1920s, so yes, that was a long time ago, but this was also during the time period of flappers. So I feel like during this time period, it was kind of like the start of like women being sexy, women being taboo, so it wasn't crazy out of the ordinary. Of course, anyone performing naked on stage is a little out of the ordinary, crazy, but then it still is, and it probably would be more accepted now, but within the generation of the 20th century, that would probably be the best time to do it, because that was a decade of just women, embodying themselves, becoming sexy, It's on the third. So she became famous, and she was famous, but she didn't have a manager. So she met her manager, and that manager became her husband. When he and her met, he did a lot of things for her, and she became the most popular Black woman in France, maybe in the entire world, and maybe the most rich Black woman in the entire world. Not 100% sure she was at that point, but she was getting to that point. So when she was living here, she wasn't really experiencing any racism. Everyone loved her. They didn't go to her performances to make fun of her like they did in America. They went to her performances to see a beautiful Black woman perform, dance, sing, because she was amazing. She was great, and she was sexy. So she is with her husband right now, and her husband soon tells her after they get together that her sister has died. She is so traumatized from how she was treated in America that she couldn't even go back to America to see her sister because she was so scared. So after that happened, a couple years later, her husband was like, let's go to America because you have another job opportunity in Broadway, will make you a lot of money. There's not that much going for you in France right now. You've already achieved everything you can. Come on, let's go, let's do it. At first, she's very opposed to it. Like, I'm not ready, I'm not ready. At this point, she's in her higher 20s. But then she ends up getting convinced by her husband to go. When she goes to America, she kind of forgets how she was treated in America, because she's been treating so nice in France, not really that much racism or anything. And she goes to goes to America, and right when she goes to America, she experiences racism in a hotel, and she just doesn't like it. It's not having a good time. She goes to her performance that she's supposed to do on Broadway. When she goes, it goes well, but all the white reporters, all the white people in the audiences get up and leaves, has a terrible, terrible, terrible time. And she hates it. She wants to go back. They gave her a terrible review for absolutely no reason. But she couldn't accept the fact that she got the review not because of her performance, because of her skin color. When she figured that, the husband that she had died, and then when she figured that out, she decided to perform for people in the military. She ended up helping with the Holocaust. She joined the resistance. She was helping people escape from unsafe places in like Europe and stuff. And after that, she became a huge activist in the Black community. After she became a huge activist in the Black community, she met a husband, she adopted a lot of kids, she was still an amazing performer. She became this amazing performer. Everyone loved her, but even though she was probably the most famous Black woman in the world, since she was in America, she still experienced tons and tons of racism. She couldn't get away from it, so she went back to France. She adopted her 12 children because she wanted kids to not be in the same position as she was, so she adopted many children, which ended up her and her most recent husband divorcing, and she had a lot of money problems throughout. So which I do think is interesting is that I feel like if she had the label of being the richest black woman in the world, I would think that if she was going through a time where she wasn't making money, that she would have money backed up because she became so famous. But I guess that even though she was the most famous Black woman in the world, that she still didn't have enough money in case she was on the downfall. So that is basically a very brief summarization of the movie. So there's a lot of things in the movie, for me at least, that I feel like correlates with stuff now. One, obviously racism in America. You can see in the movie that her being a Black woman, she has to work 10 times 15 as hard as any white woman, not even white woman, a white male, especially a white male. That is still today, especially in the music industry. The music industry is a hard industry to get into, period, point blank. But to being a person that is of color, and especially a woman now and back then, it is a lot harder. You have to work so much harder. In the movie, she was working so hard that her feet were bleeding, that she was working day, nights, tired, so many performances, and still experienced so much racism, still got so much hate just because of her skin color. And that still happens today. Obviously not as badly because we have developed equal rights, but still to this day, a lot of racism is in America, and it's hard for anyone that is of color to get by in America. Another thing that I think correlates with now and back then, which I don't think this was like supposed to be like a point across of what I was watching, what I point out while I was watching the movie, is that I do feel like they portray her a little bit as an angry Black woman. And I feel like in America then and now that Black women are very portrayed as loud, mean, kind of like this evil-esque. And I kind of see that too because she was married to majority of white men, and I feel like the men were like, when she was getting, because, you know, she was no sensitive type girl. She said, I want this, I'm gonna do this, and I'm gonna do that. And I feel like if it was a white person, I feel like people would be like, oh my God, she's such a boss, she's like such, you know, she's doing all this, and the men wouldn't be like rude to her. But I feel like her husbands were a little bit rude to her because she wanted to do what she wanted. And I feel like that was because a stereotype in America since then and now had been developed that like Black women are very like mean and stuff. So that was another thing that I pointed out. So, and then the last thing that I also pointed out is that how I feel like people in America that aren't from America think that America is a mixing pot. Maybe not now because of Donald Trump, but especially before Donald Trump, America's a mixing pot, place of opportunity, everyone's accepted there, because that's what we have told outside countries. And it's just upsetting. Same, she was from America and went out to a different country that had a majority of white people that did not experience the same amount of racism as she did when she was in America. And now people come to America and they're like, oh, I'm so excited for this opportunity, I'm so excited to have this job, I'm so excited to bring my kids here, and they come here and they're actually worse off. And there's so many other countries that people should go to because America isn't that great, and we make America out to be this land of opportunity, and it's really not. And I feel like in that movie it very portrayed that as well, and I think that is definitely still happening today. People are sadly coming here, especially people that are Hispanic, trying to get into it, and they're getting arrested and their kids are getting put in cages because they want to come here thinking that America is going to make them money. And honestly, it's just worse off. It's honestly not worse off. That's why they're coming here, to risk all of that. But it just sucks because we are telling people that we are the land of opportunity, and we're not giving people of any other color besides white people opportunity. So overall, I do feel like the main three things that I got out of this movie that have correlated with today is especially the racism. And another thing that she was very amazing, I loved about the movie, she's a very much of an activist. And same today, there's so many stuff going on, such as like police brutality, everyone with the presidential elections. And she was such a person that was like, we need to change, we need to do this. And today I feel like that's happening so much. We need to change, we need to keep protesting, signing petitions, keep spreading the word, and she was so great with doing that. And I feel like that is another thing today with all of the issues going on in America today, that we are trying to push that. So I think that also very correlates with today. I think the stereotype of bike woman with that and today, and then how people see America from inside and outside countries today. So that's what the overall presentation of how I saw the movie, what the movie was about, and how I think from the movie back in the 20th century, because this was based in the 20th century, and how all the issues were happening are still relevant today in America and in the world.